The sound of my bedroom door creaking open pulled me from sleep at exactly 3:15 inches the morning. Not a knock, not my wife calling my name, just that slow, careful push of wood against carpet, the kind someone makes when they're trying not to wake you up. Except I was already awake. I'd been awake for 2 hours, sitting up in bed in the darkness, waiting. My heart was steady. My hands weren't shaking. At 67 years old, after 43 years of solving engineering problems that could kill people if I got them wrong, I knew how to stay calm under pressure. The hallway light spilled into my room, and I saw two silhouettes, then a third. My son's voice came first, that fake cheerful tone he'd been using on me for weeks. "Dad, sorry to wake you, but this is important. We need you to sign something. It can't wait until morning." Behind him, I heard my daughter-in-law, Vanessa, whisper, urgently, "Just get him to sign it. The notary's charging us double for the middle-of-the-night call." A notary. They'd brought a notary to my bedroom at 3:15 inches the morning. My own son, Tyler, the boy I'd put through engineering school. The kid who used to help me draft blueprints at the kitchen table. The man who was now trying to rob me blind. But they weren't looking at the bed. They were looking at the closet door, which had just swung open. My lawyer, Patricia Chen, stepped out with her phone held up, the recording light clearly visible. "Good morning, Tyler," she said calmly. Or should I say good night? Breaking into someone's bedroom, attempting to procure signatures under duress. Fraud. All on video, time-stamped, and already uploaded to secure cloud storage. The notary, a nervous-looking woman in her 50s, backed toward the door so fast she nearly tripped. Tyler's face went white. Vanessa made a sound like she'd been punched, and I just sat there in my bed, in my own house in North Vancouver, looking at my son and wondering where exactly I'd gone wrong. "You set us up," Tyler said, his voice shaking. "You knew we were coming." "Of course I knew," I replied. "I've known everything for 4 months now. Every forged signature, every fake power of attorney, every property you've tried to transfer out of my name, every single lie. My name is Robert Henderson. I was born in Calgary in 1957, when Alberta was still more ranching country than oil boom. My father was a welder. My mother was a nurse. We didn't have money, but we had standards. We had a work ethic, and we had the understanding that you earned your place in the world. Nobody gave you anything. I left home at 19 with $800 saved from working construction summers and a scholarship to the University of Alberta. I wanted to be an engineer, specifically a structural engineer. I wanted to design buildings that wouldn't fall down, bridges that wouldn't collapse, systems that would keep people safe. It seemed important. It seemed like honest work. I graduated in 1980, right when the oil industry was booming. Every engineering firm in Calgary was hiring. I could have made good money designing rigs and refineries. Instead, I moved to Vancouver and took a job with a small firm doing municipal infrastructure, sewers, water treatment, road systems, the unglamorous work that keeps cities functioning. I worked 70-hour weeks. I did the calculations that nobody else wanted to do. I caught the mistakes that could have cost lives. By the time I was 30, I was a senior engineer. By 35, I was a partner. By 40, I'd bought out the other partners and renamed the firm Henderson Engineering Solutions. We specialized in retrofitting. Vancouver's sitting on a subduction zone, earthquake country, and hundreds of buildings built before modern codes were death traps waiting to happen. Schools, hospitals, apartment buildings. My firm would assess them, design the reinforcements, oversee the work. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't glamorous. But it mattered. Over 30 years, we retrofitted 273 buildings. When the big earthquake comes, and it will come, thousands of people will survive because of the work my team did. That matters more to me than money, though the money wasn't bad. By the time I sold the company 2 years ago, at 65, I walked away with $3.2 million, plus the properties I'd accumulated over the years. 4 rental buildings in East Vancouver, a commercial space in New Westminster, and the house in North Vancouver where I'd lived for 40 years. I married Susan when I was 29. She was a teacher, smart and steady, The kind of woman who could organize anything. She gave me Tyler, our only child. For 36 years, Susan was my partner in everything. The business growth, the property investments, the careful planning. Then 3 years ago, the stroke came. Massive and sudden. She was gone before the ambulance arrived. When Susan died, something shifted in our family. Or maybe it just revealed what was always there. Tyler had always been entitled. I can admit that now. We gave him everything. Private school, university paid for, a down payment on his first condo. I thought I was giving him opportunities. What I was actually doing was teaching him that things came easy. He married Vanessa Brooks when he was 34. She worked in real estate, one of those aggressive agents always talking about investment properties and market timing. I never liked her. There was something cold in the way she looked at our house, our properties, like she was already calculating their value. But Susan had liked her, or at least accepted her, and I went along. After Susan died, Tyler started asking questions. Constant questions about my assets, my plans, my health. Dad, have you updated your will? Dad, what's your estate plan? Dad, you should think about putting some properties in my name now, for tax purposes. At first, I thought he was concerned. He's thinking about inheritance, I told myself. That's natural, but the questions became pressure. Tyler and Vanessa would come for dinner and spend the whole evening talking about how I needed to simplify my holdings, how I should streamline my assets, how I should give Tyler power of attorney just in case something happens. Just in case of what? I was 67, not 97. I still worked as a consultant, reviewing designs for other firms. I played hockey twice a week in an old-timers league. I could calculate beam loads and stress factors in my head faster than Tyler could do them on a computer. There was nothing wrong with me, but they kept pushing. They brought me documents to sign, changes to property titles, new bank account authorizations, revisions to beneficiaries, all written in that legal language designed to confuse. Vanessa would explain with that bright realtor smile, "It's just standard estate planning, Robert. Protection for the family. Making sure everything's in order." Something told me not to sign. The same instinct that made me double-check calculations, that made me question assumptions, that had kept buildings standing for 3 decades. So I did what I always did when something felt wrong. I investigated. I hired a forensic accountant, a guy named David Park, who specialized in finding financial fraud. I gave him access to everything. My personal accounts, property records, all of it. "Find anything that doesn't look right," I told him. And I hired a private investigator, former RCMP, named Sarah Mackenzie. "Follow my son and his wife," I said. "See what they're really up to." What they found broke something in me, not financially, emotionally. David discovered that over the past 18 months, Tyler had been systematically using forged documents to access my assets. He'd created a numbered company in Alberta, 284739, 2 Alberta Limited, and had been slowly transferring properties into it. My rental building on Commercial Drive, worth $700,000. My commercial space in New West, worth $450,000. Even some of my investment accounts, nearly $500,000, all moved into this shell company where Tyler and Vanessa were the only directors. But that wasn't the worst part. Sarah discovered the plan. She'd followed Vanessa to a medical clinic in Burnaby, photographed her meeting with a doctor named Stephen Walsh, a neurologist who had never examined me but was willing to sign an affidavit stating, "I showed clear signs of cognitive decline and early-stage dementia," for $5,000. The plan was elegant in its cruelty. Tyler would petition the BC Supreme Court for committeeship over me, using the fraudulent medical evidence. He'd claim I was no longer competent to manage my affairs. Once the court appointed him, he'd have complete control. My business, my properties, my money, all of it. And I would effectively be a prisoner, unable to make any legal decisions. The documents Sarah photographed were dated. They were planning to file the petition in 3 weeks, and then they were going to move me, not to a care home, at least not immediately. That would look suspicious. No, They'd found a private assisted living facility in the interior, near Kelowna, far from Vancouver, far from anyone who knew me, somewhere I could be isolated while they dismantled everything I'd built. When I read those reports, sitting in my study at midnight looking out at the lights of Vancouver Harbor, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I felt something colder. Betrayal, yes. But more than that, a kind of clarity. My son was not who I thought he was. Maybe he never had been. And his wife was worse. She was a predator in expensive clothes, and I had welcomed her into my family. I called Patricia Chen the next morning. Patricia had been my lawyer for 25 years. She'd handled my business transactions, my property deals, my contracts. She was 68 years old, sharp as a razor, and completely loyal. When I showed her what I'd discovered, she sat in silence for a long time. Then she said, "Robert, this is bad. If they succeed with this committeeship petition, even with fraudulent evidence, it could take years to fight it. Years during which they have control." "We don't have years," I said. "We have weeks. Then we need to act fast." We built a strategy. First, I restructured everything. I created an irrevocable trust for my key assets, with Patricia, my accountant, and 2 independent engineers as trustees. The trust was designed so that even if someone got committeeship over me personally, they couldn't touch the core assets. Second, I transferred my remaining properties into a different structure, properly documented with independent appraisals, not like Tyler's forgeries. Third, I secured my accounts. New banks, new passwords, 2-factor authentication on everything. I made it so that even if they had my social insurance number, they couldn't access a dollar. Fourth, and most important, I gathered evidence. Every forged document, every fake signature, every fraudulent transfer. David put together a forensic report that could stand up in any court. We compiled everything into a single file, proof that would destroy their committeeship petition and probably put Tyler in prison. Then I waited. I knew they'd make a move soon. They'd realize I wasn't signing their documents, and they'd have to force it somehow. Patricia suggested we move the timeline up, file charges now, hit them before they hit you. But I wanted them to hang themselves. I wanted them caught in the act. So when Patricia suggested staying over for a few nights, just in case they try something, I agreed. She took the guest room down the hall, and I had a security company install cameras. Small ones, hidden ones, in every room, all recording to encrypted cloud storage that Tyler couldn't access or erase. I went about my business. I played hockey. I reviewed engineering drawings for consulting clients. Tyler called every few days, voice dripping with fake concern. "Dad, you sound tired. Are you sleeping okay? Are you remembering to take your medication?" I played along. "I'm fine, son. Just busy with a retrofit review for a hospital in Surrey. You and Vanessa should come for dinner soon." "We'd love to, Dad. Maybe next week." But I knew they were getting desperate. David told me they'd been making inquiries at banks, trying to find out about my liquid assets. The neurologist, Dr. Walsh, had submitted his fraudulent report. Everything was in place for their court filing. Then last week, Sarah called me. "Robert, they just met with a mobile notary in Richmond. I have photos. They're planning something for tonight or tomorrow. Get Patricia there." Patricia arrived within the hour. We went over the plan. She would stay in the guest room initially, then move to my bedroom closet before midnight. Door closed but unlocked. Phone ready to record. I would lock my bedroom door, something I never did, and wait. The first night, nothing happened. But last night, at 3:15 inches the morning, I heard them. The careful turn of my bedroom door handle. Tyler had a key to the house, something I'd given him years ago for emergencies. Now, he was using it to rob me. The whispered conversation in the hallway. Tyler's voice. "He's definitely asleep. I checked an hour ago." Vanessa's response. "Just get him to sign it. Tell him it's about Mom's estate or something." The door opened. The hallway light. The 3 of them entering my bedroom. And then Patricia stepping out of the closet with her phone raised, that red recording light cutting through the darkness like judgment. The notary fled. Vanessa started crying immediately. The fake tears she probably practiced in front of a mirror. Tyler stood frozen, holding a leather folder that I knew contained fraudulent documents claiming I was incompetent, claiming I wanted him to have power of attorney, claiming I understood what I was signing. "What's in the folder, son?" I asked calmly. "Documents," he said, his voice shaking. "Documents that need your signature to protect your assets." "Protect my assets from what? From you? From the $1.6 million you've already stolen? From the fake medical report saying I have dementia? From your plan to lock me away in Kelowna while you sell everything I've built?" "Dad, this isn't what it looks like," Tyler started. "Really?" Patricia said. "Because, from where I'm standing, it looks like breaking and entering, fraud, forgery, theft over 5,000, and conspiracy, all of which are criminal code offenses." "We weren't breaking in," Vanessa said, finding her voice. "We have a key. We're family. You use that key to enter at 3:15 inches the morning with a notary to coerce signatures," I replied. "That's breaking and entering. And family doesn't steal from each other." Tyler's face changed. The mask dropped. "No more concern, son. Just anger. You think you're so smart? You think you've won? We were trying to help you. You're 67 years old, Dad. You're not going to live forever. We were just accelerating the inevitable." "The inevitable," I repeated. "So you decided to steal my assets before I died because you couldn't wait for me to actually die?" "That's not what I meant." "That's exactly what you meant, Tyler. You looked at me and saw a bank account. You looked at your inheritance and decided you wanted it now. And when I wouldn't give it to you voluntarily, you decided to take it by fraud." I stood up from my bed, my legs steady, my mind clear. I'm 67 years old. I still work as a consulting engineer. I play hockey twice a week. I remember every building I ever worked on, every calculation, every detail. There's nothing wrong with me, except having a son who thinks he can rob me while I sleep. Vanessa took a step forward. "Robert, listen, we can fix this. We can work something out. We can reach an agreement." "No," Patricia said firmly. "We're way past agreements. Mr. Henderson has evidence of systematic fraud, forgery, and theft. He has you on camera attempting to procure signatures under duress. He has the fraudulent medical affidavit. He has records of every property transfer, every forged signature. This is going to the Crown Prosecutor tomorrow morning." "You can't," Tyler said, and now there were real tears. "Dad, please. If you do this, I'll lose everything. I could lose my engineering license. We could go to prison. Please, don't do this." "Then you shouldn't have done it," I said, and I felt my own heart breaking as I said those words. But I said them anyway, because this wasn't just about money or property. This was about something Susan used to tell me mattered more than anything else. Integrity, self-respect, the ability to look at yourself in the mirror and recognize who you are. Tyler and Vanessa left my house at 3:45 inches the morning. Tyler was crying. Vanessa was making threats she couldn't back up. The notary had already sent a formal letter to Patricia, saying she'd been deceived about the nature of the meeting and would be filing a complaint with the regulatory body. Patricia and I sat in my kitchen drinking coffee as the sun came up over the North Shore Mountains. "Are you okay?" she asked me. "No," I replied honestly. "I feel like I've lost my son." "You lost him a long time ago, Robert. Or maybe he was never really the person you thought he was. This just made it visible." The next morning, we went to the Vancouver Police Department. Patricia had already contacted the fraud division. They took one look at our evidence and opened an investigation immediately. By noon, the story had leaked. Local news picked it up. Engineering consultant's son, accused of million-dollar elder fraud. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Former colleagues calling. Friends shocked. Other engineers asking if I was okay. I released a statement through Patricia. Robert Henderson has discovered fraudulent activities affecting his personal assets. He is cooperating fully with law enforcement. His consulting work is unaffected. Mr. Henderson remains mentally acute and in full command of his faculties, despite attempts by certain parties to suggest otherwise. Short, professional, devastating. Within 3 days, Tyler's employer, a mid-sized engineering firm in Richmond, placed him on administrative leave. Engineers and geoscientists BC opened an ethics investigation. Dr. Stephen Walsh suddenly claimed he'd never signed any affidavit that his signature must have been forged. Coward. Vanessa hired a criminal defense attorney, which told me everything about how serious this had become. My friends rallied. My hockey team dedicated a game to me. Former clients reached out offering support, but none of that filled the hole where my son used to be. 2 weeks later, Tyler called me. We hadn't spoken since that night in my bedroom. "Dad," his voice was small. "Can we talk?" "I'm listening." "Vanessa's lawyer said you wanted to speak with me directly. I wanted to hear from you what actually happened, how this started, why you did it." He was quiet for a long time. Then he started talking, and what he said was somehow worse than I'd imagined. "It started after Mom died," he said. "Vanessa came to me with this idea. She said you were getting older. She said it would be smart to start moving assets into our names, for tax purposes, for protection. She made it sound responsible, like we were helping you. When did you realize it wasn't helping me?" "When I started forging your signatures. I knew it was wrong, but Vanessa said you'd never notice, that you'd probably forgotten you even owned some of those properties. She said you'd sign them over eventually anyway, so we were just saving time. And the committeeship plan, the fake dementia diagnosis, that was all Vanessa. She said we needed protection, that if you found out what we'd done, you'd sue us, take everything back. She said if you were declared incompetent first, we'd be safe. Everything we'd transferred would be legitimate because you weren't capable of managing it yourself. And you went along with this." I was weak, Dad. I let her manipulate me. She kept talking about how we deserved it, how we'd sacrificed so much, how you were going to leave it all to us anyway. I convinced myself it was okay, that it didn't really hurt you because you'd never know. Except I did know, and it does hurt me, Tyler. Not the money, the betrayal, the fact that my own son looked at me and saw a target. I'm sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I've lost everything. My job's probably gone. My marriage is over. Vanessa's blaming me for everything, and I've lost you. I destroyed our family for money I didn't even need. I believed him, not because I'm naive, but because I heard genuine remorse, the kind that comes when you've lost everything and finally see what you had. Tyler, I said, if you testify truthfully about what happened, if you return everything you took, if you cooperate fully with the police, I will ask the Crown to consider a lighter sentence for you. Really? You'd do that? But there's a condition. You divorce Vanessa. You cut all contact with her. And you understand something. I'm not doing this because I forgive you. I'm doing it because your mother would want me to give you a chance to rebuild your life the right way. And because maybe, eventually, there might be a path back to something between us. But that has to be earned. You broke something that can't just be fixed with an apology. I understand, Dad. Thank you. I'll do it. I'll testify. I'll give everything back. One more thing, Tyler. You're going to get help. Real help. A therapist. Someone who can help you understand how you let this happen. I will. I promise. The deal went through, Tyler testified. Vanessa Brooks was convicted of fraud, forgery, and counseling to commit fraud. She got 4 years in federal prison, lost her real estate license permanently, lost access to everything she'd stolen, plus additional penalties and fines. Tyler pleaded guilty to fraud under $5,000 for his role, got 2 years probation, 300 hours of community service, and a suspension of his engineering license for 5 years. He had to repay everything, attend counseling, and have no contact with Vanessa. The judge, a woman named Justice Margaret Wong, addressed him directly. Mr. Henderson, you betrayed your father's trust in the worst possible way. You exploited his grief, his age, and his love for you. The only reason you're not going to prison is because your father, showing more grace than you deserve, has asked me to consider rehabilitation over punishment. Don't waste this chance. Today, 10 months later, I sit in my study in the house Susan and I bought 40 years ago. The engineering work continues. My assets are secure. I still play hockey, still consult, still live independently. Tyler calls me once a month. The conversations are short, careful. How are you doing, Dad? Fine. How's the counseling going? Good. I'm learning a lot. That's all we have right now. Maybe someday it'll be more. Maybe not. I think about Susan often, what she would say about all this. I think she'd be heartbroken about Tyler. But I also think she'd understand why I did what I did. Because Susan was the one who taught me that love doesn't mean enabling. Sometimes love means setting boundaries. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it means choosing your integrity over keeping the peace. People ask me if I have regrets. I do. I regret that my son felt entitled to steal from me. I regret that I didn't see Vanessa's true nature sooner. But I don't regret defending myself. I don't regret refusing to be a victim. I don't regret standing up and saying, this is wrong, and there will be consequences. Because at the end of the day, when everything else falls away, the only thing you really have is your dignity, not your money, not your property, not even your family, as painful as that is to admit. It's your ability to look at yourself in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. And I can still do that. At 67 years old, after everything that happened, I can still look in that mirror and see Robert Henderson, the welder's son who became an engineer, the man who made buildings safe, the husband who loved his wife faithfully for 36 years, the father who tried his best, even when it wasn't enough, the man who refused to be robbed, even by his own son. That's who I am. That's who I'll always be, and nobody can take that away from me because I didn't let them. I fought back. I protected what was mine. Not just the money and the properties, but something more important, my self-respect, my autonomy, my right to make my own decisions about my own life. So to anyone out there facing something similar, anyone who feels like their family is trying to take advantage of them, anyone being told they're too old, too confused, too weak to fight back, I want you to hear this. You are not too old. You are not confused. You are not weak. You built your life. You earned what you have, and you have every right to protect it. Don't let anyone tell you that family loyalty means letting them steal from you. Don't let anyone convince you that love means surrendering your dignity. Fight, stand up, defend yourself, because in the end, that's the only thing that matters. Not the money, not the property, not even the relationships. What matters is knowing you stood up for yourself when it counted, that you refused to be a victim, that you chose integrity over peace. That's the legacy that really matters. That's what I'm leaving behind. And nobody, not Tyler, not Vanessa, not anyone, can take that away from me because I never gave them permission to try. I stayed who I was, an engineer, a man who solves problems, a man who builds things that last, including my own self-respect. And that, more than anything else, is what keeps me going, knowing that when they came for me at 3:15 inches the morning, I was ready, I was prepared, I was awake, and I refused to sign.